Have you ever noticed that some of the wealthiest people you'll ever meet are driving cars that look like they belong in a high school parking lot? I'm talking about millionaires cruising around in 10-year-old Toyotas or pickup trucks with dents in the bumper. At first, it doesn't make sense. If you've got the money, why not drive the latest luxury ride? Well, here's the secret. Most millionaires know something about money that the average person doesn't. Their old cars aren't a sign of being cheap, they're a sign of being smart. In this video, I'm breaking down the 5 big reasons why millionaires often drive old cars, and trust me, it's going to change the way you look at your own spending. One of the biggest secrets about wealthy people is that they don't spend money the way we think they do. When most people picture a millionaire, they imagine someone pulling up in a shiny new Tesla or a flashy Lamborghini. But in reality, many millionaires are perfectly happy driving a car that's 10 or 15 years old, as long as it gets the job done. Why? Because for them, a car is about function, not flash. They see it as a tool to solve a problem, getting from point A to point B safely, comfortably, and reliably. That's it. The rest, leather seats, heated steering wheels, and fancy logos, doesn't matter nearly as much as people think. Take Warren Buffett, for example. One of the richest men in the world, worth tens of billions, and for years he drove a modest Cadillac. He could have bought a garage full of Ferraris without even noticing the cost, but he didn't. Why? Because his Cadillac did what he needed it to do. It wasn't about impressing neighbors or showing off at stoplights. This mindset shows up in everyday millionaires too, not just billionaires. Surveys of wealthy individuals consistently reveal that many of them drive practical brands like Toyota, Honda, and Ford. These are dependable, long-lasting cars that don't cost a fortune to maintain. Millionaires value reliability. They don't want to waste time at the repair shop or deal with the headaches of a car that breaks down every other month. Here's the thing. When you strip away the desire to show off, the truth becomes obvious. A $20,000 car and a $120,000 car both do the same basic job. They both drive on the same roads, hit the same traffic lights, and obey the same speed limits. The difference is in the extras, the bells and whistles that, while fun, don't really change your life in a meaningful way. Millionaires understand this. They know that real satisfaction comes from financial freedom, security, and peace of mind, not from the logo on your steering wheel. The flash wears off quickly. The excitement of driving a new car fades after a few weeks, but the financial consequences of an expensive purchase can stick around for years. So when you see a millionaire in a car that looks basic, remember this: they're not cutting corners, they're cutting out distractions. They're choosing function over flash, because they know that true wealth isn't about what you drive, it's about what you keep. If there's one thing millionaires are good at, it's math. Not complicated formulas or Wall Street wizardry, but simple, everyday math that most people ignore. And when it comes to cars, that math spells one word: depreciation. Depreciation is just a fancy way of saying losing value. The moment you drive a brand new car off the dealership lot, it loses money, a lot of it. In fact, cars can lose 20 to 30% of their value in the first year alone. Imagine buying a $50,000 car and then realizing 12 months later, it's only worth around $35,000. That's like burning $15,000 just for the privilege of being the first owner. Millionaires hate that kind of waste. They didn't build wealth by throwing money away on things that lose value instantly. Instead, they take depreciation seriously. They'd rather let someone else pay for that massive first-year drop in value, then swoop in later to buy the car at a fraction of the price. Here's an example. Say a brand new luxury SUV costs $70,000. After 3 years, it might be worth closer to $40,000. To the average person, buying it new feels exciting. It's fresh off the lot. But to a millionaire, buying it slightly used is the smart play. They get the same car, with most of its life still ahead, but they save tens of thousands in depreciation. This is why you often see millionaires driving cars that are 5, 10, even 15 years old. They understand that the longer they keep a car, the less impact depreciation has on their finances. By the time a car is over 10 years old, it's barely losing value anymore. At that point, every mile you drive is practically free compared to the money lost on a brand new car. Another reason millionaires think this way is opportunity cost. That's the idea that money wasted on depreciation could have been used somewhere else, somewhere it actually grows. Instead of sinking $70,000 into a brand new car, a millionaire might invest that same money into stocks, real estate, or a business. Over time, that money could double, triple, or even 10 times. The car, on the other hand, will just keep going down in value. And here's the kicker. Most millionaires know that no one really remembers what car you drive. People are too busy worrying about their own lives to notice whether your car is a 2015 or a 2025 model. So they ask themselves, why would I pay a premium to impress people who probably they don't even care? That's why millionaires rarely buy new cars. They're not being stingy, they're being smart. They understand depreciation better than anyone else, and they'd rather let their money work for them than vanish into thin air the second they turn the ignition. One of the most surprising things about wealthy people is how little they care about what strangers think of them. For most of us, there's this constant pressure to look successful. A shiny new car parked in the driveway, designer clothes, the latest phone, all of these are ways people signal status. But millionaires? They've learned that trying to impress strangers is one of the fastest ways to go broke. Think about it. When you buy an expensive car, who are you really buying it for? It's usually not for yourself. After the initial excitement, it becomes about showing others that you've made it. But here's the reality. Most of those people don't care. They're either too busy worrying about their own lives, or they'll glance at your car once and forget about it 5 minutes later. The only one left with the monthly payment, the insurance bill, and the maintenance costs is you. Millionaires avoid that trap. They've realized that real confidence comes from within, not from the car you drive. Driving an older, reliable car gives them freedom. They don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone. In fact, many wealthy people prefer to blend in. The less attention they attract, the less pressure they feel to keep up appearances. A perfect example is Ingvar Kamprad, the billionaire founder of IKEA. For years, he famously drove a modest Volvo, even though he could have afforded any luxury car in the world. When asked why, he explained that showing off wealth went against his values. For him, driving an ordinary car was a reminder that money is a tool, not a trophy. And that's the lesson here. When you stop spending money to impress strangers, you get to spend it on things that actually matter. Financial freedom, travel, experiences, investing for the future. These are the things millionaires value. They'd rather have their money working quietly for them in the background than tied up in something flashy that only feeds other people's opinions. At the end of the day, millionaires don't care if someone judges them for driving an older car. They know who they are, and they know what they're building. That quiet confidence is far more powerful than any luxury logo on a steering wheel. Here's one of the biggest reasons millionaires keep their old cars. Every dollar they don't spend on a flashy upgrade is a dollar they can put into an asset that grows. They understand a simple truth. Cars lose value, but assets build wealth. Let's break it down. Imagine someone spends $800 per month on a brand new car loan. That's almost $10,000 a year just to drive something newer and shinier. Now imagine taking that same $800 and investing it into an index fund that grows at an average of 7% a year. After 20 years, that car money would be worth well over $400,000. That's the power of redirection, shifting money away from liabilities and into assets that multiply over time. Millionaires think like this all the time. They know that every unnecessary purchase comes with an opportunity cost. Do they want a $70,000 car that will be worth half of that in a few years? Or would they rather take that same $70,000 and buy a rental property that pays them cash flow month after month? For them, the choice is obvious, and it's not just about big investments. Even smaller habits add up. Driving a car for 10 or 15 years instead of trading it in every few years can free up tens of thousands of dollars. Those savings invested wisely can snowball into serious wealth over a lifetime. This is why so many wealthy people are quietly frugal in ways that surprise others. It's not that they can't afford luxury, it's that they'd rather put their money into things that actually pay them back. Stocks, businesses, real estate, retirement accounts, all of these are assets that grow, while cars only shrink in value. It's almost like a mindset shift. Millionaires see every dollar as an employee. If they keep that dollar tied up in a car, it just sits there and does nothing. But if they put it into an asset, that dollar starts working, earning interest, generating income, building wealth. Over time, those little decisions add up to massive financial security. So when you see a millionaire driving an older car, don't mistake it for stinginess. What you're really seeing is discipline. They're choosing to redirect money into assets that build their future instead of liabilities that drain their pockets. That's how they stay rich. Not by spending like they're rich, but by investing like they want to stay that way. One of the biggest money secrets that millionaires understand is the difference between assets and liabilities. It sounds simple, but this mindset shift completely changes the way they spend money. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. It grows in value or generates income. A liability, on the other hand, takes money out of your pocket. And no matter how nice it looks, a car is almost always a liability. Think about it. The second you drive a brand new car off the lot, it loses value. That's depreciation working against you. On top of that, you're paying for gas, insurance, maintenance, and repairs. Even if you own it outright, it's still costing you money just to keep it on the road. Millionaires know this, which is why they don't fool themselves into thinking a car is some kind of investment. It's not building their wealth, it's draining it. This is exactly why wealthy people often hang on to older, reliable cars instead of constantly upgrading. If a car still runs well and gets them where they need to go, why replace it? To them, it makes no sense to pour money into something that only goes down in value. They'd rather drive a modest car and put that extra cash into assets, like investments, property, or businesses, that actually pay them back over time. The average person often looks at cars emotionally. They see a shiny new model as a symbol of success, a way to show the world they've made it. But millionaires separate emotion from logic. They ask themselves a different question: what is this car really costing me in the long run? Once you add up all the expenses, the true price of a car over 10 years can be shocking. That same money could have been building compound growth in the stock market or creating passive income in real estate. Millionaires know that every dollar counts, and every dollar has a job. If it's tied up in a car, it's sitting idle, or worse, shrinking. If it's placed into an asset, it's working. Over time, those decisions add up. 10 or 20 years of avoiding unnecessary car payments and putting that money into investments can mean the difference between financial freedom and constant financial stress. Seeing cars as liabilities also gives the wealthy a sense of freedom. They don't feel pressured to impress anyone with what they drive. They know that real success shows up in their bank accounts and investment portfolios, not in the car parked in the driveway. At the end of the day, millionaires keep their perspective simple. Cars get them from point A to point B. That's it. They don't expect more from them, and they certainly don't treat them as investments. By recognizing cars as liabilities, they avoid one of the most common financial traps, and that discipline is exactly what helps them stay wealthy. So the next time you see someone wealthy driving an old car, don't be fooled into thinking they can't afford better. Chances are they're making a conscious choice. They value function over flash. They understand depreciation. They don't care about impressing strangers. They redirect their money into assets, and they see cars for what they really are: liabilities, not assets. That's the quiet secret of the wealthy. Staying rich isn't about buying more, it's about buying smart. And sometimes the smartest move is keeping the old car in the driveway while your money works for you somewhere else.